We're going to go through the complete anatomy of the rotator cuff, cover beginner exercises to start strengthening it, and then some advanced exercises. This will be broken down into 3 parts, starting with the anatomy and function of the rotator cuff. Now, there's 4 muscles that make up your rotator cuff. This here is a shoulder blade, your upper arm, your humerus, and your collarbone. So it goes like so. Your rotator cuff muscles are these brown little areas here that hold your humerus into the socket of your shoulder blade. So there's 4 muscles that attach on there and suck the humerus into the joint. Realistically, the rotator cuff should be called the depressor cuff because it's keeping it into that place there. Now, the 4 muscles are so. The subscapularis is on the front side of the shoulder blade. So if your shoulder blade is on your rib cage on the back, it's just on the front side of the shoulder blade or on the back of your rib cage. That is responsible for medial rotation or internal rotation. So bringing your arm towards your body. If your arm's at your side, it's responsible for bringing your arm down. The 2 muscles in the back, you have your infraspinatus and your teres minor. So on the back, they would be right here. Those guys are responsible for bringing your arm away from your body or up away from the ground. And that is your lateral rotation or external rotation. Lastly, you have your supraspinatus, which is in this gully here. The supraspinatus is really important for bringing your arm away from your body. So doing shoulder abduction, abduction, or as people commonly refer to, a lateral raise. Again, having these muscles really strong is important for your overall health of your rotator cuff and your shoulder because it keeps your socket and joint sturdy and stable while you're doing your big lifts, while you're pressing, cleaning, hang cleaning, and rowing, and pull downs and pull-ups. Everything you do, all those muscles attach onto the arm, and they're causing different forces to be there, and it's your rotator cuff that's holding it into the socket there. Now we'll be going through some beginner strength exercises for the rotator cuff, and I'll break down how to progress these. So we're going to go through medial rotation, or otherwise known as internal rotation, for the subscapularis muscle. Now, the subscapularis muscle is stronger than your lateral rotators, so you can use a bit more resistance. So I'm going to use a double blued band. For medial rotation, we're going to be doing it at 90 degrees of shoulder abduction, or our arm out to the side. And the reason why is for the foundational shoulder exercises, we want to be training in a more compromised position. So I'm just pulling down, twisting my shoulder towards the floor. I'm thinking to myself that I'm just rotating my elbow on a spit. I really want to emphasize that pure rotation through the shoulder here. Now you can stand straight or you can stand in a bit of a staggered stance like I am. It doesn't really matter for the purpose of this exercise. So frequency of this exercise is I like to do 2 to 3 sets. Work your way from 10 to 15 repetitions. You want to have good endurance of these rotator cuff muscles. Next, we have the infraspinatus, a little bit weaker than your subscapularis, but just as important, if not more important. I like to just stand on the band for this one here, and now we're doing the opposite movement, which is lateral rotation, or rotating your palm up towards the ceiling. Now, the biggest mistake in the gym is people will do these exercises holding a dumbbell, and they'll be doing it with the arm at the side, saying that they're warming up the rotator cuff. However, we got to know that dumbbells only work against gravity. And if you're holding it at your side like this and rotating it out this way, you are not training your rotator cuff. Again, for lateral rotation exercises such as this one, I like to have your arms out to the side because we want to train that compromised position for when we're doing bench press, incline dumbbell press, incline barbell presses, overhead pressing, all those sorts of movements. We want good endurance. We want to be doing 2 to 3 sets, working our way from 10 to 15 repetitions. The last fundamental exercise is training your supraspinatus, and this is shoulder abduction, or a lot of people recognize as lateral rotation. The only recommendation I'm going to make for this exercise is to make it slightly more specific for the rotator cuff, is rotate your palms forward when you're doing your lateral raise. Now, this just takes a little bit more emphasis onto the supraspinatus and takes a little bit less load off of the medial deltoid. Realistically, you can just do your lateral raises the same as you always do, just out to the side, and it will have benefit. But if you want to be a little specific and say you're training your rotator cuff a little bit more, you can definitely do it palms facing forward here. Again, I kind of like to work 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 15 repetitions. Realistically, training your rotator cuff should be a regular occurrence. Trying to do it 2 to 3 times per week with a day's rest in between is absolutely appropriate and highly recommended to keep it as robust as it can. It's really important for injury prevention. Like, these are the muscles that hold your shoulder into your socket. So when you're pressing using your chest or doing pull downs with your lats or using your deltoids for different exercises, they're all pulling at your arm. And these little rotator cuff muscles should be called the depressor cuff because it's holding the humerus in place. So having them strong and capable in various compromised positions is so important for overall health. Now, in the next video I'm going to make, I'll be going through some more fun and different variations. But these are the foundational movements. Being able to master these 3 exercises is incredibly important. I usually recommend starting with this routine, trying to get from 2 to 3 sets and work your way from 10 to 15 repetitions. This can take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. After that, it's appropriate to change increased load or change the exercises to some more complex variations. Lastly, we're going to go into some advanced rotator cuff exercises, some great progressions to keep your rotator cuffs getting stronger and more functional for your activities. Now, this first movement is for your infraspinatus, teres minor, and supraspinatus. It's a sword draw movement. Kind of thinking like you're reaching into your sheath and you're pulling out a sword and holding it overhead. This is a very important movement because you're combining a diagonal plane of movement. This is something that we do more realistically in our whole life because we're not rigid in how we move in these strict one plane motions. So being able to move and be strong in multi-planes of movement is so important. Again, I'm really thinking that it's trying to be my shoulders and my scapula muscles doing the work through here. For sets and reps, we're trying to look at 2 to 3 sets and working our way up from anywhere from 8 to 10 reps up to 12 to 15 reps. Again, we're trying to have good endurance and good strength of these muscles. We don't need to be going for maximal power in these specific movements. Next, we have one of my favorite exercises for the infraspinatus and teres minor. So you have to have a band, kind of a loop band, and you're going to put it around your forearm, making sure it's not on your wrist at all. The purpose of the exercise is to train those muscles to be engaged and hold isometrically while your arm is moving. So this is really important for when we're doing like forward pressing movements. All you're going to do is pull the band apart. Hold the band in this position so your wrist, elbows, and shoulders are in the same vertical plane. Then you're going to try and raise your elbows up to 90 degrees and back down. So if you're doing it right, you should be able to maintain that same vertical motion the whole time. If you're getting fatigued and tired, you can see that the band will start to come inwards and your elbows are flaring. That means it's probably time to stop, take a break, or decrease the resistance. So again, I usually do 2 to 3 sets. This one is a more challenging exercise. So some people may only be able to do 2 to 3 reps initially, but you're trying to work up anywhere from 8 to 12 reps in total. This is a really good burner, and you'll definitely feel it all in the back here as you're trying to hold the band while you bring your elbows up towards 90 degrees. For myself, those 2 movements we went over are more often in my regular routine because they're a little bit more advanced and they cover these different planar movements that are more realistic in what we're trying to do. They are great progressions to the first videos of exercises because they challenge your body in a different way. And we need that challenge, we want adaptation. Same principles apply where we want to be doing some rotator cuff exercises 2 to 3 times per week, 2 to 3 sets, and working up towards 12 or 15 reps. You should always feel like you're doing a challenging resistance while you're building your reps up. If you're hitting 12 reps and it feels really easy, you're not quite doing yourself a favor. Find something that's challenging.